Coming up on Tech News Today, who's buying HP? We got lots of candidates. I'm not one of them. HTC says, no, really, we're okay with Google buying Motorola. Let us explain. And Intel becomes the new patron of the arts. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, August 19th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your new account for 6 months, go to Squarespace.com and use the offer code TNT8. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And Sarah Lane is off today, gambling away her life savings.
She's gallivanting
in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Having a good old time.
That will guarantee that she comes back on Monday, though, because she'll need the money. Joining us is Patrick Beja from Paris, France, and host
of
Rendezvous Tech.
Yes, I am. Very happy to be here again. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you, because you always have to stay up late. Not as late as the UK guys, but you still have to stay up late, and we appreciate it.
Isn't it later? I think.
Is it later?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
yeah. Forget
they're
them.
to the west, so yeah.
We appreciate it anyway.
Yeah.
However late it may be.
No matter what.
Unless it's really early in the morning.
So, Patrick, you probably heard about the HP announcement yesterday, spinning off, or at least thinking about spinning off the Personal Systems Group, which makes the PCs, shutting down all the WebOS device manufacturing, and talking about doing something with WebOS, but we don't know what. The stock market reacted today by dropping HP stock $5.91, down 20%. It's kind of hard to use stock market prices as a gauge of stuff these days because the stock market is so volatile, but this is a bigger drop than the stock market had today. So
I mean, we've seen so many earnings reports lately, and usually the stocks dip about 1 or 2%. A 20% dip is really significant. On top of that, it's obviously investors wondering, what exactly are we investing in right now? What is HP? What are they going to do as their core business? Because if they're not making desktops and laptops and they're not doing hardware anymore, what else are they going to do? And then we know it's going to be printers.
No, that's definitely not it.
No,
I mean,
for investor panic?
People knows what HP is going to do. They're going to do enterprise. What they don't know is who's going to buy the Personal Systems Group and what are they going to do with WebOS.
We saw Google stock price drop about 1% or 2% once they announced they were going to acquire Motorola. I'm just saying that investors are sometimes easily scared, and to not look at the whole situation, because the news, it was screaming, HP is dropping their PC division, not necessarily saying HP will continue doing other things.
Yeah,
so
but investors in HP know that HP is mostly an enterprise system.
I'm just saying, for 20%, it could account for some of it.
Yeah, obviously here there's a problem. It seems to me, and beyond the huge disappointment of the PC and WebOS stuff, for me personally, it seems there's a problem in communication, because from what I understand from what the thing they want to do is get rid of the lower margin stuff and keep the higher margin stuff, making it a more profitable company. And if the stock market is not understanding this, there was a problem in explaining what they mean to do. So at the very least, that huge announcement seems like it wasn't managed in the best way in its announcement to the public.
Well, you can tell that from how they told their own employees. Todd Bradley, former CEO of Palm and the current head of the Personal Systems Group, found out Sunday, hey, you know what, we're gonna tell everybody we're thinking of selling your department, okay? Just so you know. Another former Palm CEO, John Rubinstein, works for HP, reports to Bradley, and is in charge of product development. He also didn't know until right before the announcement. Bradley's been the favorite to take over as a CEO of Personal Systems Group if they spun it out as a separate company. And almost everyone at HP found out about the death of the touchpad and pre-hardware with the press release that went out yesterday. There was no telegraphing internally before the press release came out. They had their all-hands meeting after the press release came out. So it's a good time to hire mobile professionals.
Or PR companies.
Just war dial the HP prefixes.
Like Patrick was saying, HP didn't really handle this very well publicly. I mean, this is also privately. They apparently, this got leaked out on top of it. Apparently just telling everybody, okay, we're just doing this. This is what we're doing, and we won't tell anybody else until later. So this doesn't give a lot of people confidence. This also probably accounted for some of the loss in the stock today.
Ars Technica had a good article saying, look, this is what they should have done. They should have licensed WebOS first before announcing that they were shutting down the WebOS development. Essentially, they admitted that WebOS is worthless to them except for parts.
Well, not only that, but they said that WebOS was pretty worthless in general.
They've only had it for a year.
But the thing is, if they're trying to sell it to somebody, to say, hey, this is a piece of junk, we couldn't make any money on it, it didn't work for us, you want to buy it? Like, that's not the best way to do it.
The most infuriating thing, I think, was the reports. I don't know if you read them, but the reports that basically Palm already had the plans for the touchpad almost as it came out through HP when they were bought. So basically what that means was HP just left it dormant for a year, released a piece of hardware that was outdated a year or 2 years, you know, too late, and then decided 6 weeks after that doesn't, you know, that doesn't matter to us. We don't want to even try.
Well,
and I would think, I'm sure you're going to disagree, Tom, but I would think that also doesn't inspire the most amount of confidence. It seems at least a little bit fleeting in the way they approach the issue and the strategy around that division.
Mark Hurd, remember, is the guy who was in charge of HP when they decided to buy Palm. Mark Hurd was then shuffled off and replaced by Leo Apotheker, who's an SAP, a former SAP employee. So he came in and probably had no interest in the consumer electronics division, saw the small margins, and just said, you know what, this is dead in the water to begin with. Let's figure out how to divest of ourselves. I bet from day one he was planning how to get rid of this department, because it's not in his plans. He's an enterprise guy. Enterprise makes the money, and it takes, you know, a while for these wheels to move inside of a corporation. So I doubt that he cares that the stock price is taking a small blip. He believes that HP's future and all of its money is in the revenue, and once all the confusion clears up and we know what's going to happen to the personal systems group, he's probably betting that everything will be rosy for the HP that's left afterwards. The next question then is, what's going to happen to the PC unit, to the personal systems group? Is it going to go to Lenovo, Samsung, spin off as its own? You know, the analysts are kind of falling all over themselves trying to figure out who might buy it. Ovum, actually, analyst group says that Foxconn might be interested, because Foxconn builds the PCs for HP. And they might go and just buy the personal systems group and get into the direct selling game.
I mean, if they have everything all set, they have the factories, they know what they're doing, they've already built them, why not just slap a different logo on there? It's actually not that crazy. Well,
it's a different business. It's a much more complicated business to be in retail, but you're right. The nice thing here is you've got the business already done. You know, you've got Todd Bradley, you've got the people in charge. It's just a matter of whether Foxconn wants to get into that part of things or not.
The other thing is what they will license from HP at all. I mean, I know, if I remember, I want to say that Lenovo actually licensed the IBM name for a little bit after they bought the PC business, and that got smaller and Lenovo got bigger.
Well, yeah, that's a really good point.
So what they could do, what anybody who ends up buying it, like a Foxconn, or I said ZTE, I keep picking them as my favorite one because they make cell phones that nobody heard of.
I don't know if they have enough money to buy it. That would be the only negative.
It could be a good way to get, like I was saying, a foothold into a market that you would not normally be able to access. And if you could use that HP name for a while, you probably could do something with it.
Well, and that is a really good question. What do you get when you buy the personal systems group? We don't know yet. Do you get WebOS, or are they going to sell it off separately? Do you get the brand name HP, and do you get the brand name Compact? Do you get the right to use all that stuff? When Motorola split up, the brand name went with both companies, right? Mm-hmm. Is there going to be HP Enterprise and HP Consumer, and will you be able to use the HP Pavilion name and all of that? That makes a big difference. You know, are the patents that they hold as a part of the Palm acquisition going with the personal systems group, or is HP going to sell those off separately to make a little more money? I mean, all of that makes a difference on who is going to buy it. Lenovo I think is a likely buyer because it would put them into the top spot in the U.S. market by a long shot. I think the estimate was they would have 30% of the market if they bought the HP Personal Systems Group, and Dell has something like 15 or so percentage. So, you know, Lenovo has a decent segment of the U.S. market already, but it would help them to leapfrog not only in the U.S. but around the world.
It seems like Palm, I mean, WebOS is a real gem. And I don't see, you know, if Lenovo is not interested, how could Dell not try and, you know, snag it? There must be someone who's going to try and get it. And maybe we can talk about this a little bit later, but Google's influence on the mobile market is also something that some manufacturers could try to counter.
The other thing is we've seen Lenovo make a shift more into the consumer space as well. I mean, they've made ThinkPads and they've made IdeaPads much more prominent. Lenovo actually does make sense. If they took HP, because HP has a great penetration into the consumer space, because, I mean, who buys a Lenovo desktop? Just businesses. If Lenovo wanted to get into a home, this is a good way to do it.
And finally, Samsung has been thrown around. I don't think Samsung's interested in getting into the desktop PC market.
They already make successful laptops.
They might do fine with the HP laptops, but you're right. They already make successful laptops. They're more likely to want to buy the patents. They're more likely to want to buy the WebOS stuff and diversify their platform if that's sold off separately. I could see Lenovo buying Personal Systems Group without WebOS and Samsung buying WebOS maybe.
Right, I know, Lenovo's,
is there any chance?
What?
Sorry, guys. Is there any chance that someone will buy it, just hoard the patents, and then throw WebOS away? I know it brings a tear to my eye just thinking about it.
There's every chance of that happening.
I think Apple's a great contender for that. I said that the same thing yesterday. Like, because WebOS has some great patents on notification systems.
And Google.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, Google could get it too. But actually, Android already has
sell it off separately, which we don't even know.
Yeah, because they still only said strategic. What are they looking for again? Strategic.
They're pursuing strategic alternatives.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, Australian retailer Harvey Norman has ordered its franchises to pull every HP touchpad off the shelf. That's a little bit of an overreaction. I mean, you could still sell them, but no, they're saying we don't know if there's going to be support for these things. We're outraged at the way this was communicated. We're pulling them off the shelves. And the Next Web also has a report saying that HP tested WebOS on an iPad, and it ran over twice as fast as the touchpad. As it did on the touchpad hardware, and that bears out a lot of the other stuff that people have been saying from internal. It's just like is that people believe in WebOS, but they don't believe in the touchpad or the hardware that HP was making, and they believed that licensing WebOS was going to be the next step, which it still might be, but this really confuses the issue.
And I was excited. Go ahead.
Apparently, the team was really frustrated with the way things were going because the release of that piece of hardware was limiting what they could even do with the software. Mm-hmm. So it's tragic.
And I'm still excited for the $99 the bargain basement touchpads because I'm just going to get one for each room.
Well, you can't buy them in Australia.
Okay, I won't. Actually, I don't know where they're shipping the touchpads.
At least not at Harvey Norman. It's been good news for RIM though. That might sound odd, but here's why. Between Google agreeing to buy Motorola Mobility and HP putting WebOS out there on the market and people saying, hey, that patent pile, that's pretty valuable, RIM's stock has gone up, and the estimate of what RIM's sale value is, based on these are analyst estimates, has rallied 100%. In fact, the sale value of RIM is much, much more than the actual value of RIM.
Patrick, you have your hand on your head. I just want to know what you're thinking right now.
How this is a completely unbelievable situation. How can RIM's sale value go up 100%? Because, I mean, I understand they probably have patents. Who would want to buy RIM? Honestly.
Patents.
Okay. What?
Patents. Also patents.
Everyone and all their mothers
RIM
have
has
patents.
a valuable marketplace out there. If somebody can supercharge it and kind of get them going in the right direction, they could still be a dominant player in the mobile market. They're not like WebOS where they're just down at 1% of the marketplace. They've got a good chunk of it.
RIM was the leader for a long time in the smartphone market. They were the smartphone market for a long time.
And worldwide, in feature phones, they're actually rising.
RIM?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. But
in places like India and Africa, RIM is doing very well.
I still think, I mean, RIM, how far can they bottom out? I mean, we've seen their market value drop and drop and drop. This is like the first good news they might have heard ever, and it has nothing to do with their own companies because HP killed something that RIM is doing well.
I like what Web Number's saying. RIM buys WebOS.
That's a great idea.
And then they all go down together.
Let's get a third CEO in there, too, while we're at it.
All right. There's blood in the water. People are going to buy mobile companies. That's all we know. Let's move on and take a break. Thank our sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. Easy-to-use UI for creating and managing a website, optimized for both beginners and CSS experts. Get in there and try it out right now for free. It might not be for you, but I bet you're going to find something you like in there. Well, I use it for Sword and Laser, and it's so. I actually thank the fact that we use it every time we publish, because we usually record the episode, and then I have to go in and I write the show notes. And the fact that I can just paste my show notes in, use the WYSIWYG type editing to to put in all my bolding and italicizing formats, and then hit one button. I'm in HTML. I can add in the HTML links and things that I need to do. And when I say links, I'm not talking. I can highlight things and make links in the WYSIWYG, but there's a little bit of tweaking that I do because of the weird formatting that comes when I paste it out of a database. But it's one click, HTML tweak, one click, back to WYSIWYG, save it, publish, done. So try it out for free. You don't need to use a credit card. Just go to squarespace.com. You can import an old blog. You can try out their Flickr modules. You can play around. And if you like it and you decide to keep it, use the offer code TNT8, and that'll give you 10% off the price of your subscription for 6 months. But just go give it a shot. Squarespace.com. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. HTC's Peter Chu, he's the president and CEO, is committed to Android and Windows Phone, and says the Google Motorola deal is good news. So he's not buying the fear that is being peddled by Nokia, Microsoft, and just about every columnist at every tech publication in existence to say, you know what? These other companies, they need to fly to Windows Phone. They need to worry about Google, giving Android benefits to Motorola now that they, if they end up purchasing them. Of course, it is subject to regulatory review. Peter Chu says, no, we think it can leverage its partners while still finding a way to differentiate to add value. The Motorola buy is good news for his company because of the patent protection, and Google has made it very, very clear. He used two verys.
That means he's extra clear.
That HTC will continue to be the same valued partner in the ecosystem that it's been before. So Google has done a good job brainwashing its partners here.
You think it's really brainwashing?
Basically, that's it.
You guys think it's brainwashing?
Did you read the statements that each of these companies put out? Basically, they were copy pastes of the one phrase that Google sent them, and it's uncanny how similar they were, and that made me realize how dependent these companies are of Google. Basically, imagine at this point that Google pulls out and does something weird with Android. They would be really in trouble. I mean, we were talking about WebOS before, maybe they should get together and buy it. Maybe they should get a little bit more into bed with Microsoft. I mean, I didn't really realize until this event how powerful Google had gotten, in regards to these manufacturers. They can do whatever, they can make them do whatever they want.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking that I don't think these guys have been brainwashed at all. I think Samsung and HTC, they see now that Google has some patents and they're going to protect Android. So instead of HTC getting sued, because the hardware manufacturers are the ones that are getting sued, HTC is the one who's got to pay Microsoft extra money. When you have a giant partner like Google saying, we got your back, just relax, we're going to continue this operating system. Because the other thing is, Google wants Android to succeed. They don't want to see the mobile space be broken up like with thousands of different operating systems, because when we had that, what do we have, like Java applications, and that's nothing, because Google wants to advertise to everywhere.
Don't forget, Microsoft owns Sidekick. Not as big of a manufacturer as Motorola, but it is a telephone manufacturer.
Danger, right?
And Danger. And they made a phone. I think that made everyone feel better about that when they made the Kin, because it was such a flop. But, I don't know how much the fact that Motorola is less of a threat than it used to be, how much that might have to do with it. But it really does surprise me how much these companies are like going out of their way. I mean, Peter Chu sits down with the Wall Street Journal and says, here, yes, I would like to give you an interview and tell you I am not worried about Google buying Motorola.
Well, I mean, right now, HTC and Samsung, they've gone out of their way to make their phones look different, feel different than the other Android phones. Because don't forget, I mean, Android, anyone could use it, right? Anyone can make a phone out of it.
Well, yes and no. I mean, that's a really good point, and it's worth exploring. Android is open source. But the Android that you can use without Google's permission is very different than the Android that is on the HTC and Motorola
HTC and Samsung,
phones.
they have the Google-approved phones because they have the app.
Because you get the
app
apps,
markets,
right?
But they've already done the things to differentiate their products. So if Google goes out and makes Motorola Google phones that have special integration with whatever products, HTC is going to get its engineers on that, its software engineers, and Samsung is going to do the same thing. So like, I mean, they already have these wheels in motion. So I don't know what kind of advantage. Maybe they don't even fear Motorola at this point because Google could be offering them assurances, saying, "Look, we're not going to do this because we don't want to do hardware."
Well, assurances
Just say this.
can change too.
That's
I mean,
right.
look at HP. They
Google does no evil.
Palm assurances. Look where that got them.
So
Well,
are they really just talking to the markets here? Are they saying, guys, it's okay, we're fine, Google is happy with us, we're happy with them, everything's good, you know, don't worry, nothing's changed.
Yeah,
and
don't listen to the tech pundits. No fear. All right, got some shocking news. Boeing Genius Report confirms, according to an inside AT&T source, that the iPhone 5 is coming this fall and will ship in October.
This has been confirmed.
No, get out. Shut the
This
front
is a
door.
confirmed rumor.
Confirmed rumor, huh?
Yeah. I like that when Engadget, Boy Genius Report, and all of those folks,
The reporters reporting
they
on reporters.
confirm their rumors.
Exactly.
Now, I understand Boy Genius Report says, hey, we have a source, and the source confirmed it to us. But if the source won't go on record, it still makes me a little nervous. However, this is the same rumor everyone else has been reporting.
Well, I mean, eventually, look,
Is that we have a September announcement and an October release.
So what we're going to see is everyone's going to like have a rumor for every month until somebody's right.
No, but this is it's been the same month. It's been October.
So September release.
September release, October release. September announcement, October release.
Not Labor Day.
Go ahead,
The
Patrick.
rumors are starting to converge into one mega rumor, which is a little bit more believable than they had been apart.
It's kind of like crowdsourcing. You know, once you get that many rumors,
Well, we don't know what kind of
the
phone it
average
is.
ends up being close to the truth.
There's 2 iPhones or 7 iPhones.
Hey, other shocking news, Wall Street Journal confirms the next iPad will be released in sometime in early 2012, which is exactly when they usually release the iPad.
Now, wait a second. This is the Wall Street
You're
Journal.
making a trend out of 2 products. They might think, you know what, this time we're going to release it 2 years afterwards. We don't know.
I don't know. I still think that when the Wall Street Journal confirms something, it's a little different than
When the Wall Street Journal confirms what everyone expects, it actually probably is true. But it was probably true anyway.
Yeah. That's right. But they also
said, you know
discussed
what?
details.
I
They
bet
talked
the
about
iPad comes when it usually
They talked
comes.
about the higher resolution screen. They talked about some of those things in their confirmation
Retina
of the rumor.
display, yeah.
So I mean, the fact that Wall Street Journal is saying yes, there will be a Retina display probably means there is one, because they don't say stuff without like researching and researching and research. Wall Street Journal. A lot of other places, a little bit more suspect.
I bet that next June, Apple's going to have a worldwide developers conference and announce a new revision to iOS. You wait and see.
I think you're just far too cynical.
Let's get off the rumor mill and into Sprint. Reportedly, well, this actually is a rumor, isn't it? Sprint reportedly
by Business Week, though.
in talks with Comcast, Time Warner, and Bright House and Clearwire about buying up the rest of the stake in Clearwire. Clearwire is a WiMAX provider. They want to spend $600 million to roll out LTE. Clearwire is owned by Sprint 54%. The rest of it is owned by Comcast, Time Warner, and Bright House. What Sprint wants to do is buy the rest of the stock and bring it into Sprint as a way of funding the rollout of LTE onto Clearwire. That gives Sprint LTE as well, because Sprint has been planning to roll out LTE, saves them some money. And they're also talking to Cox and Cablevision. So there's another aspect to this where the cable companies would then be in partnership to have a wireless service that they could offer to their customers, which is the one thing they can't compete with things like Verizon, Fios, and AT&T Uverse on.
Right, all those telecoms, they went into the market. They became ISPs at some point, like Verizon and AT&T. So this would actually be a great move for these cable companies to do it. Now, I think these cable companies have tried to roll out, like Time Warner's tried this before. They tried to roll out their own branded version, I think, of Clear WiMAX by just calling it Time Warner. WiMAX.
Yeah, exactly. It's like an MVNO type of situation.
Do you think it would be more successful if they try it now, if they have an ownership interest in this? Or is this something that, I mean, what are the cable companies going to do with this beyond what they've already tried?
This is going to be the same thing. It's a matter of having a bigger footprint. So with Clearwire before, they were rolling it out at a time when WiMAX was not available everywhere, so it wasn't the best way to roll it out. If they have a partnership with Sprint, nationwide coverage, Sprint, and don't forget, is trying to get a partnership with LightSquared. So if they can say, look, we're going to give you LTE nationwide, worldwide, that's a much better offering than what Time Warner was able to offer before, when Clearwire was still just being built out.
I'm lost.
Why are you lost? Let's help you get unlost.
Too many names of different companies buying each other, then selling parts of it for new stuff that, I don't know. It's confusing to me. Your American economic things.
If only we just had Orange. Everything would be clear.
It would be much simpler.
No, everything wouldn't be clear. Clear would be bought by Sprint.
Yeah,
Clearwire is a WiMAX provider. Sprint is a WiMAX provider. They both want to switch to LTE. Sprint owns most of Clearwire. So the talks are, if you cable companies help us buy Clearwire, we'll let you use their service so that you can offer wireless phone service as well.
Okay, so it's all clear.
Does it make it clear?
I'm just also curious about what this does for Sprint in general, because Sprint they're kind of trying more and more different things to try to keep their business afloat with the impending merger of AT&T T-Mobile. Like, this is actually really good for them if this goes through.
They're moving and shaking, that's for sure. Intel has commissioned leading science fiction authors to write short stories imagining the future using Intel technology. It's called the Tomorrow Project. They've done a cool thing, actually. They've made it available for download for free on the website. So you can download the whole anthology as an ebook. Intel thinks this can help anticipate consumer aspirations and drive future adoption of its products. It's being led by a futurist named Brian David Johnson. So think of this. I mean, Star Trek is often credited, and maybe over-credited in some cases, with inspiring future innovation because people wanted to live in a world like the world shown on Star Trek. What Intel's doing here is clever. It's saying, let's drive the stories for the next generation and have them based on products we're already researching so we can deliver them.
Yeah, I don't know if this is utter genius or complete ridiculousness. I guess we'd have to read the whole thing to understand whether it's one or the other, but it seems like a cool idea that doesn't really go anywhere.
I don't know, maybe Intel is kind of outsourcing its research and development thing, the actual development part. So we have these great ideas, we have these great products, but we have no idea what we can use them for. Maybe if writers are like, well, this looks like I could do this, I could make this into some kind of, I don't know, rollable screen or a processor that can operate like that. The IBM chip we were talking about the other day that mimics the brain. I mean, I'm intrigued with this because, I mean, like, if you look at, Star Trek and you see the pad and then you see the iPad, you're like, oh, okay, that does work. You know, I mean, we've been gunning for science fiction for a while, and now we're almost there to the point where it's like, well, what's the crazy, wacky ideas now in sci-fi? Like, everything is blue and orange. Like, that's the new sci-fi.
Yeah, but then you get the pad and the iPad, but then you also get the flying car that, you know, famously everyone's still waiting for. It's of course there are some things that you imagine that are going to come true. I don't think that, you know, 15 writers coming together and thinking about what the future might be are necessarily going to be more right than, I don't know, you know, us putting our heads together and thinking about what we'd like to have.
No, you're right, Patrick, but this is a start. I think this is clever, and this could be a new model for content creation. And if this works, if Intel likes it, they might go farther next time and maybe commission an entire television series or maybe a movie. And yeah, one short story anthology is not going to change the perceptions of the world and drive adoption of future technologies. But if you get a little, you know, momentum behind it, and you can get a hit like Star Trek, then it actually could create that sort of demand, and Intel could play right into it. I could see IBM doing this. I could see HP Labs doing this. I mean, it's an interesting thought. I don't know if it'll happen, but that content becomes driven by research companies in the science fiction area anyway.
So the future for solutions providers and processor manufacturers is,
research companies
is going to lead to a bunch of television programs and maybe online video content.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. IBM maybe, but HP would probably just overpromise and then kill it after.
We won't release it until it's perfect. Until it's perfect.
Well, I mean, yeah, forget the individual companies, but I like the idea of this marriage. I mean, Cory Doctorow says, all I do is I take current developments that are on the cutting edge and I extrapolate them into a story, and it looks futuristic in all of his stories. So, I mean, this is perfect material for science fiction writers. I would love to see more stuff inspired by future research like this.
But I'm wondering, why are you more enthusiastic about Intel commissioning it rather than, you know, some guy thinking up some science fiction thing on TV or in a movie?
Intel will actually implement it one day.
Intel's got money.
There you go.
And you know who's going broke? Hollywood.
Okay.
I'm just trying to save content.
But Hollywood throws a lot of money at a lot of things that purport to be much better than they end up being.
Exactly.
So money doesn't necessarily solve everything.
Intel is the new patron of the arts. You're from France. You know how that works.
Sure.
You have socialized content.
We actually we do.
Yeah, see?
So
people thought I was kidding. Let's move on to the news feeds. All right. Stop me if you heard this one. Anonymous says it's released some data related to a U.S. defense company.
You can stop right there.
No, this is different. This time, 1 gigabyte of documents and private emails of Richard Garcia. 1 gigabyte. I've become a computer algorithm. Private emails of Richard Garcia, an executive of Vanguard, which sells unmanned aerial vehicles to the military and police, were released. Some of the documents released are meeting notes, schematics, and data classified as law enforcement sensitive. Garcia was also a special agent in the FBI for 25 years.
Well, I guess he didn't do security very well. The Protect IP Act would require ISPs, search engines, and others to censor websites that facilitate copyright infringement. But what will it cost the government? The Congressional Budget Office estimated that over 5 years it would cost the DOJ $47 million. That money would be used to create jobs, but that's only an estimate. There's no estimate as to what it would cost the private sector to comply with this fun act.
Yes, it's going to just cost a lot of money. Sony's decided to show some love to an old piece of technology, binoculars. The company has added an image stabilization, digital image sensors, and the ability to record video in 3D. These binoculars are also capable of close focus. Sony will offer 2 models priced at $1,400 and $2,000. There's 2 models priced at $1,400 and $2,000. The more expensive model also comes with GPS to geotag capture footage.
This is really just a camera.
Cool. They're cool cameras inside of binoculars, yeah.
All right, we know a lot of people are excited about Star Wars: The Old Republic. Brian Brushwood, I'm talking to you. The maker of the MMO, EA, is also quite aware of the demand and will be limiting the number of copies that can be purchased on launch day. Is EA being evil and trying to create an artificial scarcity? No. EA is worried that its servers won't be able to handle the load if it released an unlimited amount of games. So order now.
Brick-and-mortar video game stores are often thought not to be long for this world because of digital copies of video games, things like Steam. GameStop, though, is pulling out all the stops and trying to get ahead of this, even offering digital downloads that you can buy in the store. And according to GameIndustry.biz, they're currently beta testing streaming Xbox 360 and PS3 games. The streaming service won't go live for the general public until sometime in the middle of 2012. But kudos to GameStop for staying ahead of the curve instead of waiting for it all to fall apart before they decide to react.
On Wednesday, Microsoft Office 365 and SkyDrive users experienced a service outage for over 3 hours. Microsoft explained the outage as a networking interruption in a data center. To make amends for the lack of service, Microsoft will offer its clients a credit of 25% to their bill. What about that data center? Microsoft said the, quote, data center's networking facilities have been remediated. You gotta love that warm and fuzzy.
They've been remediated.
There you go.
Dateline, August 5th. Black Hat Conference. Security researchers demonstrate that insulin pumps could be wirelessly hacked to deliver lethal amounts of insulin. Fast forward to 2 days ago, 2 members of Congress authored a letter to the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, asking them to review the FCC's findings and actions regarding wireless medical devices. Representatives Anna Eshoo of California and Edward Markey of Massachusetts want to make sure that these wireless medical devices are secure and reliable. And in this case, I would like that to be true, too. That's a good thing to follow up on.
All right, get ready for me to butcher some German things here. Schleswig-Holstein.
Schleswig-Holstein.
What he said, Data Protection Commissioner,
Thilo Weikert.
On Friday, ordered
that one might be wrong.
On Friday, ordered state institutions to shut down fan pages on the social networking site and remove the button from their websites, saying it leads to illegal profiling. Germany's funny this way, but it's just a government order. German folks can still create their own fan pages.
Oh, thank goodness.
David Hasselhoff is safe for now.
Oh, those funny Germans.
They're so funny. After the riots in the UK, that's not funny. David Cameron made some statements about investigating the impact of social networks on the riots. On August 25th, the British government will meet with representatives of Facebook, and representatives from RIM and Twitter are expected, but they have not yet confirmed their appearance.
Well, that wasn't very funny.
No, not at all. But we're going to be interested in what comes out of that. Let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
Okay, when we first saw this story on Yahoo, it said holograms, and we got all excited. But then I dug through to the Huffington Post version, and it's only virtual boarding agents. They're rear projections of people that help you answer questions when you're in the airport.
Take a look at this video. You see a gentleman talking to you, but is it real? No, it's a projection through a piece of plexiglass. But this is not a hologram.
But this is in Paris. This is at the Paris airport.
Yeah, it is actually apparently in Paris.
Well,
I mean,
they're reporting from Orly, France. O-R-L-Y.
Orly, right. It's the small one in the south. I mean, yeah, it's yay, go France and holograms. Actually, these when I read the title, I was way more excited. And then, as you said, I saw the video, and they're like flat and completely just. It looks kind of okay.
They call them 2D holograms. They're not holograms.
That's not a hologram. The French are trying to scam you with their promises of holograms.
Well, I mean, you can have a hologram on a credit card, can't you? So you can kind of see one, or a baseball card. So what's the difference?
It's the pattern of interference that creates a hologram, and that definitely did not look like.
So you hear that, headline writers? Yeah. You fooled us all.
Finally, you fooled us all. You finally did it. Let's move on to the calendar.
HTC just rolled out its Evo 3D bootlocker unlock tool, so go get it. Duke Nukem Forever came out today on Macintosh. So if you want OS X and you want to play Duke Nukem, talk about missing that small window.
Yeah,
because there's reviews.
People who were excited about Duke Nukem after it released.
Then the reviews.
People who wanted to play Duke Nukem on Mac. It's
there you go. If you wanted the BlackBerry Bold 9930 or the Torch 9850 on Sprint, well, you can get it this Sunday on the 21st. Also on the 21st, you can grab AT&T's LTE modem and Elevate hotspot. You won't be able to grab LTE on AT&T until sometime in the future. Microsoft says that Motorola's Android devices infringe on Microsoft's patents. Is it true? You can find out Monday, 22nd. Because that's when the ITC will hear the case.
More patent wars coverage.
That's right. The continuing saga of the patent wars. And HTC's set up a little public event on its Facebook page for September 21st in London to show the world what's next. Ooh. Will it be the HTC Puccini, which is now rumored to be called the Jetstream?
I like Jetstream. That's a better name.
Sounds more like a transformer to me.
A lot of times when they change these names, they kind of end up being dumb. All right, let's move on to the voicemail. We got a video voicemail. This one comes from somebody I've always called Ank Watcher or Onk Watcher, and it turns out in the video voicemail his name's Ank, but he'll tell you that and more. Let's watch.
Hi there, TNT crew. Ank in Ireland here. I have to disagree with your statement that allowing Modern Warfare 3 to be run on custom servers is going to cause more hacking. In my experience, it causes less hacking. If there's custom servers, there's going to be a community based around the server who will administrate it, kick off people who are cheating. So, and also, if there's servers that are running hacked software, people won't add them to their favorites list, or they'll add them to blocked lists, and people won't go on them. So it's a system where they naturally administer. Okay? Right.
Now, first of all, Ank, thank you for not driving your car while you sent your video voicemail. I don't know if you just got in the car, like, well, everybody sends their video voicemails from the car, so I better get in there.
Surefire way to get on.
But at least it wasn't moving. But yeah, what do you think about this idea that the servers get more secure when it's open? I mean, it's kind of that same principle behind open source. If you've got more people watching, you end up catching the ne'er-do-wells faster.
I just imagine a bunch of people going to the wrong servers at first, finding out this is all exploited. I'm going to go somewhere else. I mean, that's
kind of his point. I
think he's right. I think that's what's going to happen.
I mean, I think there's probably more exploits if numerically speaking, just there's the number of them, but you may be right. It may be easier to avoid them because they become known faster. Let's move on to the email. Jeremy writes in and says, is it possible that the change in SMS plans for AT&T is due to the fact that there will be lost revenue when iOS 5 comes out with free texting? Interesting thought. So iOS 5 has this ability to text messages to other users of iOS 5, even people on iPads, whether they have a text messaging plan or not. It's kind of like FaceTime for text messages.
Wouldn't they have done this in response to something like a BlackBerry Messenger?
Yeah, BlackBerry Messenger. And Patrick, I don't think any European carriers have changed their SMS plans in anticipation of iOS 5, have they?
No, not yet. We still have mostly, well, for the smartphones, unlimited SMS, but it might happen. The thing is that all of these, AT&T included, has sort of been kind of greedy in the past few years and trying to change their plans around to get a little bit more money out of every customer. So this fits more the pattern of trying to milk the customers more than trying to, you know, prevent future losses. But maybe it's possible.
Yeah, Jeremy, if nothing else is true, it's a good thought, and AT&T will probably use it to justify the price rise.
Exactly.
And their next earnings call, but we had to react to the iOS messaging. We have a letter from email, not a letter. He didn't send a letter. An email from George.
Calligraphy email.
Email from George. Hi, TNT folks.
We do take letters, by the way.
Hi, TT folks. I'm hoping
Keller
you get a lot of emails on this. I'm glad that Iyaz likes Windows Media Center, but the fact that he thinks he's the only one who does is pretty sad. And by the way, I'll answer this later.
He's not saying Iyaz is sad. He's saying it's sad that more people don't like Windows Media Center.
It's more that I don't know people in real life that like it. I know a lot of people online. Anyway, that's to his point. WMC has a lot of fans and has inspired a number of devoted online communities, which I'm aware of. And while the original Windows XP iteration of Media Center may not have worked very well, the modern version is fantastic. It may not seem cost-effective compared to a $99 Apple TV, and it certainly isn't as newbie-friendly, but it's one of the best options for managing a diverse array of digital entertainment on a home network. If you wanted to store a DVD and Blu-ray images on a NAS for access throughout the house or play them back, downloaded HD video on your 52-inch TV.
Like public domain
of
home
course,
movies.
Which everyone always puts out. I know I put my stuff out in 5.1 surround. Or if you stream Netflix to that same TV or access multiple music, photo, video libraries from a single interface, Media Center can do it. Microsoft seems to have lost interest in Media Center, which is sad, but the version of Media Center in Windows 7 is a mature product. There's no reason it couldn't carry over into Windows 8 as is. I'll stop that.
And we got another email from somebody who's very defensive of Windows Media Center. I have a Windows Media Center PC. I have it hooked up to my television, and I absolutely never use it.
Really? Okay.
I am one of those people that is the reason it is dying.
I like Windows Media Center. I've been using it for a long time. Even when it was the XP almost unusable version, it was a great idea to see a DVR that didn't charge you X amount of money every month. You bought the hardware, you had it, you could actually compress the files, make them completely different, edit out commercials. You could do so many things.
Do most of that stuff with XBMC too, though.
You can, but the thing is, this was a consumer, well, more consumer friendly than XBMC.
It's well, yeah, I guess. But I mean, there's no question among people like us that, you know, Windows Media Center is a really cool product. But even George, what you're writing, basically you're saying, you say it's fantastic. Okay, it's not cost effective and it's not newbie friendly, and you have blah blah blah, 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 but it's really cool. Sure, yeah, it is really cool, but people need to be able to use it. It's kind of the, you know, Linux of media centers.
Or WebOS,
well, wait,
where everyone does seem, I mean, we were kind of making fun of Apotheker for saying everybody likes WebOS, but we're killing it. But everybody does like it. It gets good reviews. It's the hardware that's the problem.
I mean, there's a lot of options. But Windows Media, somebody's saying that XBMC is plenty consumer friendly. And I disagree, because you have to know what it is and look it up and then download it. Versus Windows Media Center, which is built into Windows 7 right now.
I know what they're saying. It's not hard to use.
Oh no, and the other thing is you could use you could always do this with a Myth box.
Nobody ever came out with a home theater friendly Windows Media Center appliance. That's what needed to happen.
It wasn't an appliance. I think the Xbox 360 is the successor.
Exactly. That's what Microsoft wasn't worried about.
Even that, it's honestly, I mean, if people can't figure out how to use a freaking Macintosh to do stuff like that, you need, for an appliance, it's not the same league anymore. Windows Media Center is a computer program that you use to view your media. When you talk about appliances, it's a completely different story. And Windows Media Center wasn't designed with that in mind, I think. That's the problem.
All right, and finally, Phoenix wrote in and said, Scott Adams, the creator of the popular Dilbert cartoon, has been complaining about his iPhone and his Android phone on his blog, so Brandon Watson challenged him to try Windows Phone. They gave him a Samsung Focus. His conclusion was, it's the best phone, but has zero coolness factor. That statement speaks volumes, says Phoenix. Why is it called Windows Phone? There's plenty of tiles, but not a window to be found anywhere. Everyone refers to the Metro interface that would have been a much better name. What's the deal with using the Zune software to interact with the phone on your PC? There's nothing wrong with the software, but everyone associates the word Zune with a failed music player. Scott's observation that the iPhone constantly drops calls, but the Focus didn't on the same network was interesting. Is it the OS or a hardware problem? That's the eternal question, right? Of course, it's not like you can run iOS on a different phone. But yeah, interesting. You know, Scott Adams is just one guy, so who knows why he's going to have the issues that he has. But I think that is something that Nokia is looking at very closely. How do they come out with a cool Nokia phone? Nokia can make a cool-looking phone. They've done it many times. Can they still do it and have it run Windows Phone?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Nokia actually has come out pretty cool. Even tablets before that was a new thing again. It was new again. Nokia can do the designs that are well. If they can leverage their relationship with Microsoft to get actual good carriers and good subsidization of their phones, I think Microsoft's going to get over this hump pretty fast.
Now, Greg Bilton points out Molly Wood is doing the same thing. So that will be the true test of its coolness factor. I have to wait for the right phone to come out, though.
Well,
she'll have to repeat.
Waiting on the C-Ray.
Yeah, she'll have to repeat with C-Ray. All right, let's thank all of our Redditors at technewstoday.reddit.com for submitting stories that we help us pick our lineup every day. TechNewsToday.reddit.com was created today by SP Sheridan, Gartel, CompFixer87, SciSpud, Captain Kipper, Dagrat, and more. Go and submit your stories or just vote the stories that are submitted up and down. It helps us figure out what to cover on the show. Don't forget, you can buy a brick and have it put up in the wall right over there. I can see them from here. Bricks.twit.tv is the place to go.
I see a lot of them.
I could be looking at your message right now if I squint. So check it out, bricks.twit.tv. And Patrick Beja, thanks so much for staying up late and being on the show with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
I was on the Phileas Club recently, so I'll plug that. Check that show out. But tell them where they can get that show and all the other stuff you do.
You can reach everything I do from patrickbeja.com, where I just did a little write-up about iCloud. Tom, do you know what iCloud even is? Do you understand it? Say you don't.
I don't have a clue, Patrick.
Well,
what is
just
iCloud?
go to patrickbeja.com and you'll understand hopefully what it is and how it relates to our idea of the clouds until now and how it's different.
Thank you
there.
for finally making that clear.
And if you enjoy podcasts and speak French or want to speak French, go to nowatch.net. You'll find a host of French video and audio shows.
Patrick makes really good podcasts, so do go check him out, patrickbeja.com. Thanks everybody for watching. That's it for this week. We will be back with an all-new show on Monday, and Sarah Lane will be back as well. Becky Worley's going to be here on Monday?
Becky Worley's going to be on Monday.
She's late.
Yes.
She's about 6 months late for her shift. twit.tv/TNT. You can email us TNT at twit.tv or give us a call, 260-TNT show. We'll see you Monday.